What's up, everybody? This is Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest affiliate marketing news, tips, and trends. Again, Josh, myself from OfferVault.com, the industry's largest aggregator of all things affiliate marketing. You know the deal, right? You're an affiliate. You need to find the networks. We got you covered. You're a network. You need to find the affiliates. We got you covered, all right? OfferVault.com, your one-stop shop for success in this crazy internet marketing industry. We also have the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, as well as Mr. Paper Call Adam Young, a special guest host today, John Casto, founder of JC Lead Gen and Bulletproof Scaling, also joining us once again, and our very special guest, Robert Adler, CRO of Boardwalk Marketing, an AI recommender for path and flow traffic optimization. Robert, before we get started, I just want to make a PSA to the industry and everyone watching that I do not need Medicaid or Medicare. I don't need the spam phone calls anymore. I think I'm getting at least one a day, and it's driving me crazy. So if you're out there, please take me off your list.
I see some gray on your beard.
Yeah, I know. Well, I understand the common, I get the thinking.
You might be Medicare age.
I'm not far away, but here's what happens. Scam likely. I can't help myself. I have to answer it, right? I go, hello, and wait 2 seconds. You hear like this click, and they go, hello? We're calling about your Medicaid. And then I hang up and block. I just need to stop answering. But everyone, I'm good. All right. Robert, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. That actually sounded like a really long-winded opt-in to me. But no, things are going well.
That screams consent.
Oh, definitely, 100%. No, Q4 is good. As we all know, Q4 is busy as hell. So just kind of riding the wave as we're here. But I'll make sure that we remove you from list A and B and put you on C and D.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. You know, at least every other day. Every day's a little bit much for me.
I was gonna say if you could change his disposition to like warm.
Oh, of course. Interested but doesn't know it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like if I get enough calls, I might actually just change my mind about the whole thing. Rob, I saw you not too long ago, I believe in New York, where you told me a little bit about Boardwalk Marketing. But to be honest, my brain was all over the place. I don't really remember what you guys do. So can you give us and the audience a little bit of a bird's eye perspective of Boardwalk Marketing, what it is, how it came to be, and what you guys focus on?
Yeah, sure. And if you remember much from Affiliate Summit, you're pretty much doing it wrong. But yeah, no, it's basically in English, it's a traffic optimizer for paths, flows, offer walls, decline paths, anything along those lines. So the whole goal of it is to show the right ad at the right time to the right people. So if they're coming through and we can ask questions like yes, no, we can ask questions like, are you a homeowner, whatever it is. So we allow you to build it. And then based on the answers that people actually go through the path and answer on their own, we will say, we see a correlation between yes on this question, having a high performance showing this ad. We see it with no on this one and showing high performance with this ad. So our goal is to basically pre-sort and pre-select the ads and offers that you're going to see through your flow so that you have the highest chance and the highest yield based on your traffic. So it's not just A/B test. It's not just let's see how the week goes and then have our ops person on Monday reorder them and see what happens. It's more along the lines of noticing that like people from Florida on this device that answer yes on this question are better off seeing ads in this order when they get to this part in the flow. So it just takes care of basically all of that for you and learns along the way.
Why wouldn't everybody do that? Like, that seems amazing. Like, what is the argument to not having such an amazing service like that?
So that's the fun part, especially in the affiliate industry, because the first thing, and I'm going to be blunt, and I'm sure Scott will let me know later, I shouldn't have said it, but the whole concept is in the affiliate industry, everything that you run is a secret, right? You don't want other people seeing it. You don't want other people knowing what data performs.
Such a misconception, though, in my opinion.
Yep. But then it's still what people think. The other thing too is trust. And the aspect of the trust is that how can I put my stuff into this black box and hope that stuff works? And that's kind of the issue that I run into, especially when I'm showing this to affiliates or advertisers, right? is I start showing them what it can do. I start showing them and say, hey, listen, here's the deal. Slice off 5%. Just look at 5% and see what it does. If it works for you, it makes you more money, try 10. After 10, try 20. You don't have to throw the whole thing at us and see what happens. But a lot of people also are really stuck in the human factor, especially from, years ago. It's they have someone they trust that they've been working with for 10 years. They know that they can see correlations and they know that they can see that, this works here and this does this and this does that, and therefore it'll perform better if we take ad 3 and put in an ad 2, blah, 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 blah. The thing is that at a certain point, machines will be able to outperform human element. And that's kind of what we're going after, is that we can automatically see when certain segments are of statistical significance, and then we start bucketing them out, right? So if you don't have a lot of Safari users or users from X state or users that say yes or no to these questions, whatever it is, someone might take that the wrong way. And they might say, well, this is a segment when it's not. Whereas with ours, we're consistently back testing. We're consistently looking at the flows and optimizing them. And that's why a lot of our guys, not to sound salesy in my answer, but like that's why a lot of our guys will see like a 40 or 50% revenue lift in 2 or 3 weeks, is because a lot of their stuff is not necessarily saying it has to be ads 1, 2, and 3. It might be 3, 1, 2, it might be 3, 2, 1, whatever it is. It's not just a all or nothing thing. And a lot of people still optimize based on conversion rate, and they still optimize based on EPC, and they forget that metrics like eCPM exist. And that's also because how our industry is set up, things are decoupled. A lot of ad servers don't integrate back-end conversion rates of like a ping post system or like a general host and post, or even like email, for example, that sends it and triggers the CPA. Like they don't really put those together because they're still decoupled. And that's kind of our goal, is we try to put those together. So we can actually do it on the impression of the ad, not the impression on the person clicking into the lander.
I want to go back to the aspect you mentioned about, everybody wants to keep their stuff and their successes a secret, right? And you and Harrison kind of mentioned like you feel the opposite way. Can you just kind of explain your thought process on why you are not on team keep it a secret? Like what's the argument for getting it out there?
So basically there's 2 ways to look at this, at least in my mind. The first way is that I can try to keep everything a secret, but then I don't know what I don't know. And there's always stuff that I haven't run into yet that someone like Harrison might have already run into. And it could be something that I rack my brain trying to prevent or fix or optimize around or whatever it might be for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks based on how much volume I might be running. Harrison will just literally be on a call and just be like, you do know that like the easiest way to fix that is this, right? And I would never know that unless I actually bring it up and talk about it. I'm not saying go to someone and go, here's all my traffic sources, and here's where I get my offers, and here's where the payouts are. But at a certain point, I have yet to meet someone that has a lot of scale that is like, no one can know what I'm doing. No one can know what I'm running. No one can know what kind of traffic I have. No one needs to know this. No one needs to know that. There's a difference between saying, I'm not going to tell you what I'm promoting, and I'm not going to tell you how I'm promoting it. It's completely fine to keep how you promote it to yourself. I get it. As long as we agree, like if I'm the advertiser, as long as I know it's legal and I know you're compliant, doesn't matter to me.
I think at the same time, though, if you're comfortable to tell that advertiser what you're doing in more detail, and you don't have to give them the full recipe, but give them a sense of what you're doing.
Yes.
Transparency just like it goes a long way. Like
you can't beat it.
I mean, I've been an advertiser, and when people tell me A to Z what they're doing, it gives me peace of mind, and it gives me more willingness to like, let the floodgates flow, like just bang, hit me with the traffic, right? Versus like the secretive affiliate, like I don't know. I mean, I had a friend. I don't think you listen to podcasts. If you are my
what do you
British
mean,
friend,
dude? I host the podcast.
No, you're family. I have a buddy, British gentleman. So if you're watching, I'm talking about you. I doubt he's watching, but I've known him since we were both like 18 years old or something. We're about the same age, 32 now. So I've known him 14, 15 years. And for years, he wouldn't really tell me anything of what he did. Like, well, I run offers, I run traffic. And I'm like, dude, like, come on, I'm running X, Y, and Z. Like, he knew what, because I tried to get him to be an affiliate for an offer of ours and stuff. And like, good guy, great guy, but he's so secretive. And then finally one day I was like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, this, like, what Ringba is, like, I'm not running traffic. Like, you need to just give me details because I might be able to help you. And then he finally was like, okay, great. I own this e-commerce offer. I'm doing this. I run these lead gen verticals. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I was like, great. I have a couple people I think you should talk to. And I just like I made no money on this. I was just helping him out. So this is not really the
Yep.
same thing, but like you don't need to be as secretive in this world. Like there's only so many verticals and offers and traffic sources and methods. Like, you're gonna have competition. I think it's
Yep.
funny, like when someone like running, Medicare, for example, they're like super secret about their running Medicare. I'm like, everyone's running Medicare right now, dude. Like, come on, get a grip.
Oh yeah. And the other thing too is people confuse the secrecy in trying to generate the traffic with the secrecy in how you do it. When the reality is you can tell 100 people and 99 of them are never going to execute on a single thing. You could hand them the holy grail, they're not going to try it. It's all about the fact of we're all in the same industry. We all do our own thing, right? We all have our own spin on something. We all have our own way to execute. And I've had people in my background back when I was like a lot more actively mailing, where like someone finally tells me what they are, and I was like, dude, you've been in my seeds for like 6 months. Like I literally know what your problem is. I see your stuff all the time. I was like, go back, fix this, change this. And he's like, oh, look, I'm inboxing again. I'm like, haha. Like we could have saved 6 months before, you had to worry about this. And the reality is that there's so much traffic in enough verticals and there's so many offers that apply to so many people that it really doesn't matter to be secret on a lot of things that people are secret about. Like you're not promoting something in a very secretive way when like you have intake that is coming to a phone number opt-in that's coming to an SMS that prompts a phone call into an IVR that does this. It's like enough people do that, enough people do it this way, enough people do it that way. The difference is how are you going to keep your quality up? And that's a 5-minute conversation that people won't even have because they think they're giving up the bread and butter to all their stuff. It's
Now,
just
I mean, look, I get it. If for some reason you happen to have a campaign in Midway, Kentucky, population 1,700, and you're
yeah.
making 1,000% ROI every day on your 3 clicks, that you might be secretive and not want to tell people about Midway. But if you're running auto insurance, you can still tell the homies at Affiliate Summit that you're running auto because you might learn something. Someone might share some tidbits, some golden nuggets about how they structured their landing page or what they changed. Or they changed the wording or
Yep.
whatever it may be. And these are things like sharing is caring, guys and gals. Like people are, you know, they want to help. Like even if they're not, because here's the thing: I'm gonna have an idea about this landing page that I have, and I'm gonna tell Rob how I made this change, and we changed the color of our call to action button. We moved it up a couple pick centimeters up north, whatever. And then he's going to be like, dude, that's really interesting. I actually tried this live chat emoji with a bot and it really helped too. Or, whatever. I'm spitballing here, but like, don't be so secretive. You'll get some business out of it. I say this a lot. I love that you kind of brought that in because it's a message that I emphasize a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing that I have to remind people, and myself included, especially like, during the periods of my life where I'm running active traffic, is like just because I have something that works here, one, doesn't mean I'm not already competing with the people that I'm not telling it about, and they're already looking at my stuff. But two, and more importantly, is that can benefit them in other industries. And then when my traffic goes down and I have a problem, all of a sudden they have something that already can address it. And that's why it's important to have good friends that you can be open with, that you can trust, that won't impact your business. But at the same time, if they're going to, they already are. Like there's really no difference in it in the end of the day.
So Rob, you've been in this industry quite a while. You're definitely a legend in my eyes. Leads are like the name of the game, right? So I'm curious, what's your process and best practices when it comes to capturing leads and recapturing
Mhm.
these leads to really set yourself up for success in the long term?
So it all depends on the offer I'm running at the time. So, like for example, a lot of people see e-com and they just think sales and abandons. I still think about those as leads, right? Because abandons are basically leads. They
They're
haven't
leads. They're people that
purchased.
almost bought something. Yeah.
Exactly. But what other people don't think about, for example, is that you can also do the concept of cart abandonment on lead gen offers as well if you control the flow. So if you have like a 3-page flow, first page is your normal like first, last email, phone, second page is maybe address, third page is like opt-in with certain things. If they close the window on number 3, it won't take someone with a little bit of technical knowledge the ability to take an ID and let them resume that session and just email them. And the recapturing is, for a while I used to help a couple advertisers with this, and I used to do it myself as an affiliate, is you'd be surprised at the engagement of the information that you capture versus the correction rate. So like if you were to have an email that the guy doesn't care, like he's just like, I don't trust this site, I don't really trust what it's going, what it's trying to pitch me, what I'm putting my info into, you'd be surprised. And I do really suggest people that have this control in their flow to try this. Look at how many people put in a different phone number when they come back versus the first time they put in the phone number. And they'll change it by one number, or they'll do their actual number and then change like a 4 to a 6. And then when they come back and they look at it again, they'll be like, oh, this actually might help me. And then they'll change it back. The aspect of using that to recapture leads is so powerful, even in just the data clarification and the data sanitization. But also at the same time, the abandonment concept applies to everything. It's not just ecom. It also applies to lead gen. It also applies to any short form, long form. It does not matter. And if you think about brick and mortars, like the bigger, like let's even say insurance, like life insurance, right? The big application offers, the ones with like 90 questions for an actual app versus like a 10 question for like a lead. What do you think the abandonment rate is on that thing? Like it's huge. And if they didn't have the ability to bring them back and let them resume instead of start over, their conversion rate would be crap. And that's where a lot of the difference comes in, is that the methodology between stuff like ecom with other stuff, or even conversational, like a lot of guys using like chat bots to be able to collect data that then pre-pops the URL for their lander when they give them the click out. Like the difference in all of those is pretty much the same. Like you can resume the leads, you can do whatever it is, but also do it on channels. If you have them on SMS, you lose SMS consent. Go after email and have them re-opt in if you can.
What are your thoughts on like recapturing it though? Because like the abandonment part is kind of interesting to me. I mean, I abandon carts all the time on Amazon, and their method is like, hey,
send you a coupon.
Hey. No, it's not. It's like a notification. It's like, hey, take another look at this. And I'm like, no, I didn't want it. So like, what's your like take on re-engaging and actually changing somebody's mind?
So for me, it really depends on the product. Because if it's something like ecom, it's as easy as saying the number of people that order this also normally order this. So maybe show them both and say, are you interested in this? If it's leads, for example, like if it's health insurance and it's open enrollment, it could come down to just saying, hey, don't forget that the longer open enrollment goes on, the benefits versus the cost may be impacted, or our carriers might not be able to take you on for a quote or whatever. I mean, it's all sales at that point, but the recapturing portion of it is it's all about whether or not you can get their attention. When they're filling out the app, maybe they're busy. Maybe they just parked their car at a grocery store, right? And they just filled out 2 or 3 fields. They're not in a position to fill out their height, their weight, and all this other stuff that they need to do to get a quote on whatever it might be. But the ability to send them an email an hour later and say, hey, don't forget to resume your application process. Click here to resume. Like and all the other information is filled out. Yeah, just a reminder. Because people often forget, everyone has this picture of their avatar, right? Like the typical person they're trying to target. And everyone always thinks that person is at the computer trying to get whatever their product is at the time right now. And the reality is
such a rare truth.
It's just people don't understand that. And
do you think people watching TV are just all wanting Medicare immediately at 3:20 in the morning when they're watching Dateline or Nightline or whatever? You know, like
it's crazy. So it's like when you think about that, it's also about allowing them to resume when they're in a better place. Maybe they're about to go to sleep. They see something, they're like, I'll do this in the morning, right? Like the conversion rate difference between a Monday down to a Friday on certain times of offers. They want to get it done by the end of the week, right? Now it's Friday and they can't get it done. They're like, I'll do it next week. So the ability to do that, it's timing. It's timing and the ability to get them when they're free. Because here's another metric people don't take into account. The time between when you start filling it out and how many other people are now mailing them the exact same offer, that when they go into their email, you're just one of the 14 people talking about ACA.
So I want to kind of...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want to piggyback off of that, right? Because if leads are the king, email's got to be the queen. So you talk about email inboxing, and I'm curious, what's your opinion on like getting the best, open rate, deliverability, follow-ups, all the good stuff that goes into good email marketing campaigns? What are like the do's and don'ts from your time and experience in this industry?
Okay. So let's talk about inboxing, for example. And I'll try to keep this as non-technical as possible just
No, no,
because I think,
get super technical, please.
oh, dude, I'm not losing the audience. It's not going to be good.
Okay.
But basically, like, so the whole concept of spam filters is based on something called a base filter. And that's the basically an English way of thinking of that as a bag of words, right? Here's your email. Is it more like this group of emails, or is it more like this? One is inbox, one is spam, right? And then in Gmail, it's like this is promotions, this is this. The whole goal is that everyone thinks about inboxing as, oh, I must have put the wrong keywords in here, so they think it's spam. It's not just that. It can be a whole lot of other things too. So for example, let's talk about emailing when you're emailing a offer that is heavy on compliance, right? Has to be this friendly from, has to be this subject line. You have to have this unsub, right? That's three things now that the base filter is going to go. These are the most reported spam emails known to man. Like every time I see this physical address in here, and this is the friendly from, and this is the subject, it's we don't trust it. It's spam, so it's going to spam. But you can't change those, right? You're an affiliate. You don't own the offer. You don't have your own compliance for that stuff. So you have to kind of roll with it and do your own modifications, while staying within the criteria of the advertiser rules. So the whole concept is that what people don't normally look at is they think keywords, but they don't think about the stuff that they also understand on the anti-spam side. What can you not change? What happens if you change this and you don't get paid? Let's make that the part that we look at. So I'm talking click domains, like the domain you're actually sending your clicks through, your open domains. For example, Spam Assassin is software that's used on a lot of like web hosts like HostGator and all of those like most cPanel style hosts. There are literally rules in Spam Assassin for like the old cake parameters, like S1 equals ampersand S2 equals. Like all of those, they have those on a bunch of different tracking platforms where if they see that in the email and they do trace the links and they evaluate each one along the way, if they see those, they're like +2 to spam score, +3 to spam score, +4 to spam score. So like there's a lot of criteria, but it's not just keywords, it's a threshold. It's when your score goes above X. And if I remember correctly, the default is a score of 5. So like when you go to those, it's about, oh, this one domain, we don't really like that because a lot of people report it +2. This is in the URL +1. This is here +2. Oh, that's 5. No, this is spam. So we're going to put it in the spam box. And it's always different with different systems, right? Like Gmail is going to work different than Yahoo. It's going to work different than Hotmail. It's going to work different than HostGator type emails or whatever it is. But the one thing they all have in common is the vast majority will use the same algorithm as the base, which is do you appear more this way or do you appear more this way? And they know that certain things won't change, like click domains. They know that like the click domains aren't going to sub out a lot. They're not going to get changed, or the format on the parameters won't change, or the physical address won't change, or the friendly from won't change because it's required from the advertiser. So a lot of that kind of stuff kind of goes into this whole big algorithmic ball of BS that gets evaluated into a score. And you can mess with some of that, you can mess with other stuff. But one thing that will never change, ever, is how people engage with your emails. If you can get your domain to be seen in such a positive light that it offsets the negative, for example, Spam Assassin also has the concept of whitelists. If you are whitelisted, it's actually a negative score. It pulls off from the spam score. So if you can have good to offset the bad, you can actually bypass some of this. And usually for mailers, that's the concept of a whitelist. Or it's the concept of, we only send our opener clickers through this one ESP or this domain with this IP. So there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of focus on in terms of getting the deliverability up. But the one thing that I keep reminding people of is that at a certain point, it's still going to get impacted. I don't care if you have the cleanest stuff known to man, unless you have an override with like the postmaster of Gmail, you are eventually going to get put into the promotions tab. You're eventually going to get put into the spam box. And it might only last a couple hours. It might last an hour. It might last a week. But at some point, enough people are going to hit the button to offset it that it's going to happen. So the whole goal is always have other environments as much as you can. And it's easy to warm them up. It really is, especially when you control your triggers. So if someone hits yes on I'm a homeowner, send them a single email that gives them something relating to homeowners only. And then at the end of your flow, say, by the way, check your email. We sent you something. That's a decent example. Another one is if they open, you can send them another email. I prefer to do click because it's a little more engagement. But if they click on something that says, I want to get a quote on like American Home Shield, right? And it's a third party, right? They click it. And then by the time they're done with Home Shield, they go back to their inbox and, oh, look, an email about HVAC services. Like you can use triggers to warm stuff up very fast, but you need to monitor it because it's going to get impacted.
Do you feel like there's like a magic number in terms of like the actual sequence? Like how many times will you feel comfortable emailing someone that's not engaging before you shut it down?
So I wouldn't say it's a number, I'd say it's a time frame. So normally I tell people to start looking at pulling people out on 30, 60, 90, and then 120 hard stop. So 30,
When
30
you say
days.
that, does it mean email them less after 30 days?
Correct.
Email.
Yes. Yeah. Unless they're still engaging, which would reset the filter then.
I'm talking
Um,
about no engagement whatsoever.
I would pull them out. Vast majority will get pulled out at 90 days, in
And
my
how
opinion.
many emails do you think they've received by that time?
Ooh, that depends on what list they're on in the campaign. I mean, that could be
Yeah,
three a day across five verticals. That could be one a day across 10
right.
verticals. It depends on how you run your list. It also depends on how much data and how much sending capacity you have. Because I know mailers that send like 5 million emails a day, but their list is 80 million. And I know mailers that have a list of 500K that send it 6 times a day. It depends on what you're going for. It also depends on whether or not you're okay with losing your environment because you have another one on backup, or if it's Q4 and you know that like the stuff's going to convert a little bit higher and you want to make a little bit more money, then some people might push the envelope a little bit more too. It depends on really how, let's call it replaceable your sending environment is and the data integrity is.
I know there's a
So,
lot of automation incorporated into email marketing like that, as well as
mhm.
a lot of other stuff that you do within Boardwalk. What are you doing to kind of leverage like stuff like Chat GPT, or just
Ooh.
any other methods of automation that are really improving your day to day as well as like your bottom line as a
Mhm.
company?
So I have to give you one very easy example that I do use ChatGPT for, and that is uploading CSVs and then asking questions in English. So the ability, for example, to take an Everflow export and say like each row is like a publisher, right? And it's like here's the number of clicks, here's the conversions, here's this, here's the returns, like all that stuff. You take that, you throw it in, and you go, what is our highest ROI publisher? What is our lowest ROI publisher? Um,
That's
Stuff like
cool.
that. It's also one thing I usually have when I look at quality, especially like when I was running my network and stuff like that, is it's amazing to watch how some publishers for like let's say they run traffic 10 hours out of a day and then for the 9 hours they don't have a single conversion and then on 1 hour they have all the conversions. Like it's easy to spot fraud and it's easy to spot stuff like that, but when you take like a huge dump of this, like let's say a month worth of click data by hour, you can then go what is our highest converting hour, Wednesday through Friday, and then you can figure out based on what they're doing and you can go, oh well, these guys are converting really heavily Wednesday through Friday, but we don't get any traffic Monday and Tuesday, and they're a mailer. Maybe we need to bump their payout a little bit to get a little higher sending priority with their time slots. There's a lot of stuff that I use within ChatGPT. Obviously, like the spreadsheets is an easy win right there. Um,
Question for you about what you just said. I've
yeah.
never been a big mailer, so I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form. But
Mhm.
is there anything that you have noticed with regards to performance based on the day? Is there any like stronger days or weaker days or reasons why a Monday would perform better than a
Oh, almost everything I've mailed, with the exception of like dating, has almost always been a sliding scale conversion wise Monday to Friday. It's almost always been the highest converting on Monday, a little bit lower Tuesday, a little bit lower Wednesday, a little bit lower Thursday, and then Friday's normally the worst. So like, and that's like I can say when I was
interesting?
running it. Now, granted, this is like not during Q4. This is in general.
Is
But like when
Saturday,
I was
Sunday off limits?
it depends on the offer because like some of them it also depends on your list. Like I had a friend that had a lot of like typical working class parent style lists where like they were trying to get quotes for their kids and trying to get this and that. The only time they had was the weekend. So like for them, the weekend performed great. Whereas with like B2B type offers and stuff like that, Monday 9 a.m. is like almost always the best sending slot for me. Almost always. It's because they think they have the whole week ahead of them. They want to get some stuff done this week. There's still time to maybe wrap up whatever this is by Friday before the weekend. We can get this done here, blah, blah, blah. Same thing I did with e-commerce, but I'm very limited on the segments within e-commerce I tested. But for me, it was almost always that. And then of course, dating was like crap Monday through Friday until 3. And then you start sending at like 3 to 5 p.m. like Eastern for dating, and you run through Sunday at like 5, and that'll convert more than the rest of the week combined. So it really depends on the intent and who you're going after and the intent of
I
what
would
they're trying
assume
to
it
do.
also, at least with certain offers, might have to do with cap or budget. Your performance
Oh
might
yeah.
be, there's fresh budget, unlimited leads, or let's say
Yep.
someone says I only need X thousand leads from, California and X thousand leads from this state, whatever. And by Thursday, there's just not a lot of capacity left. So those leads are just
Oh yeah.
going
And it
nowhere.
also
That's
depends.
potentially another reason, right?
And it also depends on how you actually get to view their budget. So if it's like a host and post where they say like we're giving you 5K a week, that's one thing. If they say it's a ping post on the back end, they just might start buying half the amount starting Wednesday and then take it down another 20% Thursday because you're already overperforming Monday, Tuesday. And then they might, for some reason, just put a hold on certain IDs. They might say, hey, we're hitting our quality evals here. We need to pause this right now to see how it goes. So there's a lot of, especially as the tech has evolved over the last like 10 to 15 years specifically, like going from a host and post to a ping post, the ping post gives the buyer so much flexibility in that now. It's no longer about cap. It's just we'll tell you we don't want it, but we'll give you X up to Y on these, and as long as you're between these hours. So yeah, it definitely depends on how you're kind of receiving that limit. But with, an email is like you do a drop, you can't really control if there's trickle at like 11 p.m. and you get a conversion or 12 and you get a conversion. But that's why a lot of like email only offers, when they're more stringent on compliance, they'll say like no drops after X day at Y time. And that's because they know that the overflow is going to come in and they know that they're still going to get clicks and conversions.
Automation, just one of many ways someone can improve their optimization, whether that's the flow or just their business in general. What are some of the other ways that you're able to optimize, your workflow or just the success of your day-to-day Boardwalk as a
Mhm.
company, taking automation out of it? What else do you focus on to really optimize your time and your output?
So what I like to do is I like to find what I call like one-off triggers in anything that I do that just makes my life a little bit easier. And normally the format for that is after X amount of time, if this criteria is hit, do this. So a good example on email, if you're like a B2B guy, or like I'm doing a lot of like sales to like, offer owners, advertisers, networks. I'll send an email that says, "Hey, I'd love to be able to hop on a call. Let me know if you're available." Blah blah blah. And then if it's like Gmail, for example, you can use something like Yesware, or there's a lot of plugins that do this, where if there's no reply after 7 days, send this follow-up email, which is just, "Hey, just want to make sure you got this." A lot of people will misconstrue someone's, let's call it non-interest, and they'll confuse it for them just not seeing the email or them being too busy to actually reply. And the amount of people that, and of course, people also do the opposite too, and they're like, "Dude, stop emailing me." But like, but you're gonna get people that are like, like how many times have you opened up an email and you're like, "I should reply to this and tell them Thursday," and then you start typing, and then something pulls you away, and now the email is no longer unread. You don't think about it. It's not showing up anywhere, and then they hit you up like 2 weeks later, and they're like, "You never replied," and you're like, "Shit, my bad. I got pulled onto a call and I completely forgot." Like those little bumps and stuff, like the little like I'm just gonna push it to the top of your inbox. If I see that phrase again, I swear to God. But like
Damn. All right.
that,
Note to self, don't ever use that with you. Okay,
just
got
gonna
it.
bump this to the top of your inbox real
Just
quick.
Just
bumping
bump
this
that.
any follow any like
Yeah.
stop selling me. I don't need this.
Oh
But
shit,
it's
does that
like,
not work? I should take that out of my
oh,
repertoire.
just bump away, dude. Just keep bumping, and you can bump
Just
right
keep
to the top of
bumping,
my
yeah.
just you can bump right to the top of my spam box as much as
Yeah.
you want. But that's the thing is like I'll do it once I might do it twice. But there are some people that will do it 14 freaking times, or they'll do it every 2 weeks until you're like, dude, I will report you. Please stop.
Yeah.
But I look for stuff like that. And you can use that in like if you use something like ClickUp or something, like you can use those with tasks and just say follow up with XYZ. Your CRM probably has it. But even on like follow-ups like that, what I'll do is I'll make it part of a workflow. And I'll say like review ROI on this source to help optimize XYZ. And if I don't check it off, I'll have something on the back end go, if it's not done by this, I should get an email that tells me it's not done and to schedule the next follow-up or the next touch base or the next analytical review of XYZ. So it's just, I try to keep it simple because when you start going, I can automate all of the things, like I'm sure I could, but at a certain point, you're going to be like, dude, I don't know what anything is doing anywhere anymore. Like I'm confused and stuff keeps happening and I'm losing track of everything and it just doesn't make sense anymore. So
Yeah,
it's a little bit different.
I like that you threw this topic in here, and this is the last one I have for you. But mental health, right? It's
Yeah,
not talked about enough in general, but I think especially in
no.
this industry, there's a lot of social isolation, a lot of people, solopreneurs or just working from home. It's all I've ever known for the past 8 years, basically. And I love it, but I know it's also not for everyone, and I know some days are better than others, right? So
Yep.
how do you kind of balance that aspect of isolation, getting in your own head, lonely, depressed, anxious, that kind of thing? Like, where do you think it stands within this industry, and what do you kind of do to, spin it in a positive and kind of combat it to give yourself a better chance of being happy, working, living, all that stuff?
Yeah. So, so one of the main reasons that I did put that in as a topic is because COVID was a very big realization for me and a couple of friends, right? And regardless of however, people feel about COVID, the one thing is people were cut off a lot from normal things and their normal process of doing things, whether that's going to, a bar once a week or they go to a restaurant, whatever it is. The interesting part is that I know you guys just had an episode with like Sean Hall, for example. Sean used to have Zooms that he would run with a whole bunch of other people from the industry, like 40, 50, 60 people.
That's cool.
And it was awesome. We would just all get together, have a drink, relax, talk about the industry and whatever it was. But it made me realize that outside of that, a lot of people, myself included, weren't having a lot of other interaction outside of business. Because a lot of people in that at the time were like, hey, I work from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. Oh, I'm having lunch, no problem. I can still talk on the phone about this. Like it's work was work, 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 no matter what. And for a lot of us, we don't live in the hubs, right? Like we don't live in like New York City or like San Diego or other places where there are a lot of other like-minded people that we can go and hang out with or chill with or do whatever. So we would always do it remote. And much like everything else, we would do it remote. So it would kind of give some normalcy to that. But as a result, I started having a couple friends, like starting up a couple social groups, like 5, 6 people, small ones, where whether it's just, we talk about, working out or we talk about, like the stuff that's going on. A lot of the people that I know in the industry are now, mid 30s, stuff like that. And we're all starting to hit some wall in one way or another. Or we're hitting the next milestone or we already have or whatever it is. And then people start to notice that they have no one they can really talk to about any of that. Maybe one guy in real life, in quote unquote real life, right? Like we can go meet up for drinks or we can do this. But outside of that, the perspectives are kind of echoey, like an echo chamber. So the one thing that I always like doing is I have a list of basically guys that I usually talk to, and at least once a month we'll just get on for like a 30 minute, 60 minute, just talk about what's going on, just like friends meeting up for drinks. That's all it is. But it's interesting to see how much closer people are to not really bad situations, but situations that you would prefer your friends are not in and they don't even really realize it until you talk about it. And especially in this industry in general, people could get cut off real quick from like social groups, and they can get cut off from like other people that they're doing or people that they normally talk to, because we do mix business and personal. So things get a little hairy sometimes. But the main thing that I like to do is I always ask people like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you always get like, "Good, you?" And I'm like, "No, really, like really, how are
Right.
you
Yeah.
doing?"
Yeah.
Like and people like to joke. They're like, "Dude, just say good and move on." Like it's
Yeah.
just like I get it, but at a certain point, like you do actually have to check in with people. You do have to actually have that conversation and just be like, so what's going on? How are you doing in your life? Like, how are things with your wife? How are things with your family? How's this? How's that? It's not just the dude that happens to be a mailer that you knew that ran your offer that one time. It's so much deeper than that.
Well, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. When you do that, you're only increasing your relationship to succeed in the industry at the same
Oh,
time.
100%. No question at all. Like someone brought this up to me the other day, is they were looking at pictures from my wedding, and they were like, I know him and I know him and I know him. And I was like, yeah, every one of my groomsmen but one is from the industry. Like literally. And it's not because like they're the only people that I know in XYZ, but they truly were that good of friends to me that they were like that.
And just to clear this up, you did ask Harrison to be a groomsman, but he was unavailable, right?
Yeah, I tried to call him, but there was a busy tone. I don't think his number was on Ringba.
Mm.
But
Ooh,
I
No, it was that dude, you keep trying to sell me Medicare, so it was
yeah.
hard to spam. One thing I'll say too, I think the industry, a lot of people that, especially people working from home and stuff, you know where I'm going with this, Josh. You got to move your body, guys. Lift weights
Yep,
until you hate yourself. Then you won't hate yourself. You know what I mean?
yep,
So, I think that's important too. I think that, I've just been ups and downs in my life, and you know, I think physical fitness and just moving and lifting heavy shit and throwing it on the floor has helped me through good and bad times. And a saying that I used to say a lot, I still say it, but I really, it was like my motto for the year of 2023, when I had went through some changes in my personal life and stuff, was that you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And
yep.
it sounds kind of weird, but it's really true. And yesterday, I'll just, if you follow me on Instagram at affiliate on Instagram, wow, I feel like a new level of douchebag has just been unlocked.
Yeah.
It
I'll
all of a
make
sudden,
sure.
new
Yeah, you
level
can find a
douchebag
link to
unlocked.
Harrison's Instagram in the
At
description of this
affiliate, everyone. I
video.
know it's a word, kind of a big deal. I get it. It's cool. I get it. No, so I texted. I've been doing. I do 2 a days, like 4 or 5 days a week, and then I work out once on Saturdays. And I'm just reading this text message here from my trainer, 5:11 a.m. This is me. I said, "Bro, don't hate me. Can I cancel? Can we do a double this afternoon? Need sleep. Hashtag dead." And he responded, "No, I'm already training, fool." And my response was, "Fuck you. I'll see you in 45 minutes." He responded with, "That's my dog." And so I think, look, like I literally sat there, like I didn't get to bed till like 11:38 or something, and I don't fall asleep right away. So I'm on 5 hours of sleep, and I'm like just dead. Day before, worked out twice. Did it? I'm just like, ugh. And then I literally thought about it, like, look, this is not just for my physical, but like this is for my mental health.
Yeah.
I'm going. And I literally was like yawning. I was so tired I could barely see while driving. I'm kind of blind, so if I offer to drive you, like you should probably go Uber. But um,
Let me make
you
a note of
know,
that.
yeah, it's interesting though. I think it all ties together. I think being able to like connect and talk with people and not only about work also is important. It's cool to have someone in the industry that you relate to and talk about, but like I have friends that, are in the biz, and we'll call and we'll talk about, our dogs and our, lives, what we did on the
Yeah.
weekend, or our workouts, I'm one of those guys or whatever.
Yep. No, I have, and kind of ironic, much like your trainer example, is I actually have like weekly calls with some of the guys that I actually do business with, but they also know that like on certain days I'll have like cardio scheduled in the morning or whatever. So I try to do like an hour in the morning in general. One day I skipped it and he asked me if I did it, and I said no. And he was like, well, then you can reclaim the time from the call and we'll schedule it tomorrow and you don't get the call until we finish it. And I was like, God damn, dude. But it's one of those things where it's good to have accountability, and it's good to have accountability
I'm just
friends.
gonna say this: I'm allergic to cardio, so I understand why you didn't do it. You got a flare up.
Oh, it's all good, man. I'll do all the stuff that you don't, and then we can just kind of, I'll let you do all the lifting. Nice and easy.
So
But yeah,
I would like to give a big shout out and thank you to Adam Young and John Casto for co-hosting this podcast with us. Did a lot
Better
of
than
listening.
ChatGPT.
Just did a lot of
Unbelievable, guys.
listening.
Thank you, John. Thank
yeah,
you, Adam.
You
the
guys did
input
so
was
much.
invaluable.
You guys did so much listening. No, Adam and John are recording another podcast. I was hoping they'd hop on time, but that's why you did not hear from them. But they were here with us in spirit for
In
my
spirit. It's like
yeah.
Elijah at Passover.
Yes, there we go. Good Passover reference, Harrison. If you don't know about Passover,
A lot of
if you don't know about Passover, it's where us Jewish people eat fake bread, and then basically we don't eat bread for like a week.
No, and then
It's great.
but when you're a kid, you're like grandma will put like a glass of like grape juice or wine on the table, and like and I don't even remember the significance of it. And like Elijah comes to you, you go and you open the door a little bit, you crack the door, and then Elijah comes and drinks it, which really means like your grandma drinks it, but it's like he's with you.
Yeah, shout out to the maror, the underrepresented element of the Seder plate. I know I just hit a home run with some viewers there. For myself, Josh from OfferVault.com, the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, and our special guest Robert Adler, CRO of Boardwalk Marketing. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.